Okay, so I'll tell you a little bit about me. So I work at a company called Social Star. Well, I own a company called Social Star, and we do personal brand management. So we focus on making someone look really good online to attract opportunities for their business. So we work primarily with people-driven businesses, and we work in small scale from people just starting from nothing, like you guys will be. We work with medium businesses that are already running and operating, such as, I deal with physios and osteopaths and counsellors, as well as accountants and other businesses. I also work in the corporate angle. I've worked in corporate for many years, and so I work with Toshiba and a couple of the larger companies like Telstra, doing corporate branding for their people. It's always people-driven branding for me. And the reason I like to do that is because that's what I find interesting. I did product branding for many years. I take that experience of working in corporates, selling computers and those sorts of things, and I've taken that knowledge and applied it to people, because there's a lot of people starting their own business, and they need the same sort of tools and technology that the corporates have been using. So the dilemma that you're going to find when you go out either to find a job or start your own business is that it's a noisy world. So we're not the only nutritionists in the world, and we're not the only people who do branding in the world. There's a lot of competition for every single job that we want. There's a lot of competition if you're a myotherapist from other people with similar disciplines. I work with osteopaths, and I work with physios, and they compete with chiros and they compete with other disciplines in the same field. So how do they stand out? And that's what I'm going to go through today. So I just did a search on massage therapists. I use that as an example. Who is familiar with Google AdWords? Anyone know what Google AdWords are? I'll explain this as we go along. So basically, when you do a search, it's a bit hard to see on this screen, but all of these, which is slightly shaded, and these down here are ads. So people are paying to be there at the top of the page. And when you click on one of these ads, it costs anywhere from $1 to $3 for that person to just go to your website. Okay? Now, down here underneath this is the free area. So that means if you create a website or you're on some sort of platform like True Local or whatever, then you've got an opportunity to come here for free. So if someone's looking for a osteopath or a nutritionist or whatever it is in the future, you can be up here. But it's very hard. There's a lot of competition to be up there, right? So I'm going to teach you how to be number one. You'll also notice that there's a map here. So Google, in infinite wisdom, makes maps. Now, I worked for the very first mapping company in the world, which was Where Is Maps, the first online mapping platform before Google was thought of. We worked with Google to provide their map data. So I've got a lot of experience in this area, and I'm going to teach you how to be on there so that you can be found as well from a mapping perspective. Okay, so the key in all of this to stand out is to attract people to you rather than you going out and pushing out to clients and trying to find them. So the way traditional advertising worked, you would go, I want to attract clients to my naturopathy business. And you do some ads. Put an ad in the newspaper, and you do a leaflet drop, and you go online and you do advertising that way. And that stuff still works. It's not that it doesn't work, but now there's actually a better way. And the better way is to attract people to you. Now, how do we do that? I'm going to tell you how to do that in the future. But that's a more efficient process, because if you can imagine, if I went out there and I wanted, 1,000 clients, and I went out and put 10,000 leaflets out there, I've got to get that leaflet or that brochure in the hands of that one person at exactly the same time that they want that service. It's very difficult. It's a needle in a haystack type of thing. It's much easier for that person to do a search and find me. But how are they going to find you? And that's what the being online and taking advantage of social media is all about, being found. Okay, so there's 80 million people are Googled every day. So those people with laptops, have you ever Googled yourself? If not, do it right now. Open your laptop, Google your name, can you be found? And what do you see? It's a scary proposition for some people. When I do these workshops, I often choose someone out of the crowd and I Google them on the screen, and they're like, no, don't do that. I'm like, it's publicly available information. Anyone can see this at any time. And don't think that people don't Google you. As this stat says, it's extremely common for people to look at other people when you're going for a job, particularly, but also before someone meets you. Do you come up first for your name? That's the goal. You do? Great. What is it? Is it Facebook or LinkedIn? LinkedIn? Great. LinkedIn? Anyone else? Facebook. Anyone else at the back? Twitter? Yep. Social media. Anything else? Does anyone have a personal website? No? We're going to talk about that in a minute. All right. So when you Google yourself, it all depends on your name. What is your name? Is it common, like Andrew Ford? Is it distinct? And what are they going to find? So this is what customers will do before they meet you. And I've noticed that you guys have LinkedIn. Who's got a LinkedIn account here? Or who doesn't have a LinkedIn account? Okay. We're going to talk about LinkedIn in a minute. Okay. So this experiment shows two things. There's only 3 ways for a customer to find their way to your door, or an employer, or any sort of thing you want to attract. The first one is by your name. So Andrew Ford. If you Google Andrew Ford, so if you're online, Google Andrew Ford, F-O-R-D, and see what you find. Now, your name is one distinct way that people can find you. The second one is your company name. Now, many practitioners like you will not have a company name. It'll be your name. Or if you're looking for a job, you're not going to have a company name. It'll all be around your name. So you've got to control, or it's useful to control, what people see when they Google your name. And there's ways and means to do that. And then when they see the list of links, what do they see when they're on there? When they go to your Facebook page, is that the things that they want to see in order to hire you for a job? Probably not, right? If they go to your LinkedIn page, how does it look? Do you look professional? Does it talk about the things that you do? Does it have recommendations from referrals, etc.? We're going to talk through this process. The third way for people to find you is by your product or your solution. So what you do. Now, if you're a myotherapist and you Google myotherapists, you're unlikely to come up, right? And even when you graduate and you're successful, because that's too generic. So what we have to do is get specific. And it's not about being myotherapist, it's about what you do in addition to that. So are you a specialist in shoulders, backs, knees? What is it that you do that is a more narrow definition of that in order to stand out online? Because if you just type in, a generic service, you're not going to be found. Okay. So there's just a reminder, there's 3 ways for people to find you: your name, your company name, if you have one, and your service. Okay. All right. Now, the reason this all works is because Google. Now, Google has one of the highest penetrations in Australia compared to anywhere in the world. The same with iPhone, or now it's Samsung. Australians adopt the same technology where, as soon as someone shifts onto something new like Instagram, Australians just flock compared to the other places in the world. There's not as much competition. Google has recently been changing their algorithm, and basically what they're looking for is good quality content. Content that is relevant to what the searcher is putting into that little box. So if they're putting in that box Andrew Ford, I want to see something about Andrew Ford. Not Ford cars, about Andrew Ford, the person. And so therefore, if I create a website or if I have assets that talk about that in content, therefore I will come up first in search. Quality content. In the old days, I don't know if anyone's built websites or had any experience with that. In the old days, you could trick Google into coming up on those rankings. You can't do that anymore. It doesn't work as well. The only thing that works is good quality content. And I'll show you a content plan later on about how to construct good content. Content's key. Okay, so to create your digital profiles, there's 3 areas that we need to focus. And the first one is Google. Now, it's not just Google Search, it's Google Plus and Google Places. Okay? These things for a location-based business like yours are really essential. The second thing we need to do is Facebook. Facebook's too big to ignore. You've got to have a strategy for Facebook. And LinkedIn. Everybody needs a LinkedIn account. LinkedIn grew 1 million users last year alone. It's growing exponentially across the world because it's no longer just to find a job. It's there to connect with people for business. People do searches in LinkedIn all the time now to find solutions. So people go in there and type in marketing consultant, social media, even personal branding now, and when they come across me, they find me and they give me a call. This is what attraction marketing is all about. This is what branding is all about, is that you just set up a profile, people search and find you. Now, the key difference today to what was happening a few years ago is mobile. Mobile is becoming so much more prevalent in search, and in the internet, there's more internet search on this than on that. Now, the difference between this and that, apart from the screen size, is that this is driven by apps. So Facebook, I think it's 63% of traffic, of all traffic on Facebook is on the phone, right? So, and what people do on the phone is they don't search in Google necessarily, they search in app. So they search on LinkedIn and they search on Facebook for things they need. Every day I see on my Facebook wall people going, oh, I'm looking for an accountant, or I've got a back problem and I'm looking for a chiro, or I'm looking for this and that, the other. They do their searches within the apps. They don't necessarily go out and search the internet. On the big screen, absolutely. So Google's one big presence, but you've got to have a presence in Facebook and LinkedIn in order to capture all of that attention. Now, my Facebook strategy is this. So LinkedIn, mandatory. Got to have a LinkedIn account. I'll talk a lot about how to construct a good one later on. Number two, Facebook, I have three strategies for that. One, if you've got a profile and it's just for your friends and family, and you want to keep it private, I call it a private. Okay? Hide it. Make sure people can't see your photos and your news stream. Because you're going to be practitioners, you're going to be out there, your clients will Google you and they'll want to connect with you on Facebook. It's just what people do. And for your particular industries, it's probably inappropriate. Now, you can have a second profile, which is a personal profile, but it's a personal business one. And that could be potentially for clients, but it could be lecturers at university, it could be business associates, it could be people who are partners. It's a communication tool. So you can have one of those profiles, and that's what I have. If you go to my Facebook profile, it's got my friends, but it's also got a lot of my customers, because that's the culture of my customers. They want to connect with me personally. I also have a business profile, so that's business. However, because it's not personal, on Facebook, people go there because they want information, but they still want to connect with me as a person. So there's 3 types of Facebook profiles. You may have to have all 3. I know it's a pain, but that's just the reality of social media today. So LinkedIn, you just need one. That's kind of easy. You can set up a company profile, but you just need your essential base one. Google Plus. Who's on Google Plus? Anyone? No one. Does anyone know what Google Plus is? Google Plus is a Facebook that Google made to compete with Facebook. So in terms of internet traffic, Facebook and Google are battling it out. Facebook just bought WhatsApp. WhatsApp's an instant messaging service, $16 billion with a B, right? They're trying to take over the internet, and so is Google, okay? So you need to be in both. My strategy for Google Plus is simple. What you post on Facebook, you put it on Google Plus. That's all you have to do. Simple. It's the same thing, but the thing is, if you want to be up in Google, Google puts up their products first. They rank their products highly. So on that, that search that I showed you before, when you look at those searches, Google Plus gets huge rankings compared to Facebook because they own the product. So does YouTube, etc. The last thing is Google Places. Google Places is the pin on the map, and it's not Google Plus, it's Google Places. So it's a separate thing that you need to register on if you've got a practice. It's for geographic location businesses. When you do it well, and I'll show you an example later, we'll run a bit of a demo, you'll see that you get a huge ad. Where that map is, your face and your business and your address and your phone number can be in that box. And it's free. And it's super simple to do, it's just that people kind of don't know how to do it. So if you're going to set up a business, you need Google Places and Google Plus. Very important. All right, let's move on. So personal branding. So we don't have a choice whether we're online anymore. We don't have a choice if we have a personal brand. We already have one. If I Google anyone in this room, I'll find something. What the choice is how we control it for our business. You can use these tools. You've probably been using Facebook for years for personal use. To use it for business, this is the challenge now. How do we use these things to generate business for what we want to achieve? And I don't care whether it's getting a job, attracting sponsorship, getting, new customers, getting offered a position to be in a new company, whatever it is, you can attract opportunities using these tools. And I've managed to, through me doing this work, attract a whole range of different things. I got found and offered they rang me to come and lecture here, right? So I didn't go and apply, they found me and offered me the position because of my brand. I presented yesterday at another leadership forum. There was another opportunity that someone came and approached me about. People come to me now, customers call me all the time because they go, oh, I saw you on LinkedIn, I saw you on YouTube, I saw you on this, and ring me and want to give me work. That's what you want. You want to attract the people to you rather than you having to go out and go, oh, I've got no customers, what am I going to do? Let's do a flyer. Okay? But you've got to follow this process I'm going to show you. All right, I only work with people-driven businesses and it works best for them because people want to deal with people. When I was in sales many years ago, my sales manager said, people buy from people, and it is so true. People buy from people, they might want the product, but they'll only buy it if they trust the person that's selling the product. This is why Apple's so successful. Steve Jobs was an inspirational leader. People buy, when they buy one of these products, they buy a little bit of Steve Jobs' inspiration. If he was a boring person and he didn't ever do anything cool, then we wouldn't buy the products. They'd be successful, but not as successful. All right, this is the key stat. 90% of people trust a peer recommendation and only 14% trust advertising today. I used to work in advertising. I spent $10 million a year on media, advertising a whole range of different products in TV and radio and billboards and all those sort of things. Today, only 14% of people trust that. If I can get someone to recommend me or you, oh, yeah, you work on knees, you're a knee specialist or whatever it is. Oh yeah, I've got a friend who does that. That is worth gold. That is gold. That's what you're aiming for. And you don't need the internet for that, but you can use the internet to amplify that. And we're going to teach you how to do that, obviously.